welcome back to the RV Shenanigans podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Lauren, and together we are Millers in Motion. We sold our ranch in Texas and are now enjoying many new adventures in our Alliance Valor.
We are still coming to you live from the 2024 Alliance RV. Did it. I've done it like every other show.
Again.
We are still coming to you live from the 2024 Florida RV Super Show. And we want to say a big thank you to Alliance RV for hosting us in their booth this year and allowing us to bring the shenanigans all around their RVs. We have some fun guests that I have not known all that long, but got to know through misery.
Misery loves company.
Chris and Katrina from our Everyday Getaway and RV Unplugged. How are y'all doing?
We are doing great. Thank you so much for having us on this show. We appreciate
thank you.
it.
We are pumped to have you guys because I think after we all got eliminated, some of the best conversations we had were me, you, and Mike and a handle of scotch.
Or two.
Or two.
Yeah.
Well, didn't know there was a second one.
And fun fact, we are their very first podcast ever.
How exciting is that?
That is
Lucky
true.
you.
Lucky me. So, guys, if you don't mind, how did you guys get into RVing in the first place?
You want me to take that, Katrina?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So what led to that journey or that destination? We have 4 kids, and we would always sit around every year thinking of vacations. And we always thought it'd be interesting to go RVing, but like most people, we just didn't have time. We didn't find time for it. And it wasn't until a series of events that changed our lives that made us have a different outlook on life. And we started to say, you know what, let's do the things we used to talk about doing that we wanted to do, but we never got around to doing. So we went out one year and we said, let's just rent an RV. So we rented an RV for 2 weeks and we took it out west and we just fell in love with it. We were like, this is for us, definitely. So it wasn't too long after that we went out and purchased our very first RV. It was a 2016 Thor Hurricane 29M.
That's a gas motorhome, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Class A.
And like everyone else, they go out and they say, we're just looking. We were looking that day, and
Until the checkbook came out.
Daggone if we didn't go home with one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we bought a used RV, and for the first couple of years, we were part-timers. And as I was getting closer to retirement, I started consuming the YouTube RV shows.
You're right.
And
What does consuming mean?
Just
It means
constant.
24/7. Come on.
Yeah, all
Let's
the
be real.
time.
Okay.
We were watching. I was watching them all the time, and I was inspired to go. I wanted to go full time, but Katrina was kind of on the fence about it, and it wasn't until a health issue that kind of changed things for us and had a different. Once again, another epiphany, if you will. And Katrina said, "Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make this happen." So I retired. Shortly after that, we went ahead and sold everything and bought a 2018 Holiday Rambler Endeavor XE diesel pusher and decided to hit the road full time. And it's been a little over 2 years now.
So, Katrina, were you all in at that point, or were you kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, what have I done?
I think I was like trying to balance myself between the outside and the inside. I wanted to go, but it was very scary to me to just get rid of everything. Now, we're fortunate we have a property where we can store some things. But for the most part, everything was gone. And then we had to leave the adult children behind, which might not seem like a big deal, but for me it was. And shut my business down. So everything I was used to, I'd always done, I had to let go of. That was a little scary.
Right.
Yeah.
So, fast forward a little bit. What made you want to start the YouTube channel?
Okay, this goes back to watching the channels that I watch.
Consuming.
Yes, consuming the channels. They all said the same thing. It was a great way to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
So when Katrina and I would go out RVing as part-timers, we would go to campgrounds and we would see folks out there having a good time, large groups of people, and we wanted that. We wanted to be a part of that. So I thought, you know what, let's start a channel. We'll do the usual stuff. It's a way to document our journeys. I'll do it for fun to see what happens. I didn't expect anything to happen, to be honest with you, but I wanted it to use it as a way to meet people.
Right.
And it has paid off big time.
Right.
It's been the best part, no doubt, because here I am sitting with you guys, and we're sitting here with you, and that never would have happened had we not taken that, first step of renting an RV and then eventually going full time.
Right.
Well, and none of our friends RV. No family, no
Really?
friends. No.
Yeah, so we were kind of loners.
So we were like, we're going to go out there. And after a while, you want some social, you want company. You want to sit outside campfires with that, So this was a great way for us to meet people.
That's actually kind of funny because we didn't really have any friends. We had friends that had RVs but did not full time by any means, and they really didn't talk about it much. And we now RV with them because of us getting into it. But we're very similar actually in the sense that none of our families owned RVs. We had never owned an RV prior to our solitude, and that's crazy. I didn't realize you guys.
Well, what's crazy is that, believe it or not, I'm a very shy, insecure person. So when we were part-timers, I wouldn't listen. I'm telling
You're
you,
going to have to sell that a little harder.
I would not go up to anyone. We were at a campground. I was too scared to. I didn't want to just,
Do you remember how we met? The moment, not the circumstances around the moment. That was a whole different ballgame. But you literally said, "There's a lot of Chris's here. Call me CB," and gave me a hug.
Yeah, because, you go through.
That's not insecure, man.
But look, you go through a change in your life.
That's true.
And it just makes you realize that fear that you had for all those years controlled you, that you got to let it go. And that's what going through the change in my life and then eventually becoming a full-timer, it's much easier for me now. Much easier for me, and it's been a blessing.
And that's a really good point. I love that you said that you recognize that fear, and the only way is to let it go.
And that's another
Yes.
thing. That's another reason why I did the channel. I wanted to conquer the fear that had controlled me for so long. And I knew that if I got a channel and it even did anything, it was going to force me to come out of that shell and socialize with people.
Right.
And it has paid off big time. It was an answer to a prayer.
So, who are you? Essentially, what you're saying, because I always known you as a massive extrovert, but you're really an introvert, or at least used to be.
Yes.
Katrina, where do you fall in
He
that
still
category?
is in the times. Oh, I'm kind of somewhere in between.
Okay.
I would go places and do things, and he would stay at home.
Really?
I would have.
Oh, absolutely.
She would get invited to gatherings, and if it
Well, we
were
were both invited, and he would say, "I don't want to go."
Just pass.
And
'Cause
I'm
I-
saying,
I didn't
I'm
know
not
the
staying
people.
home. I'm going.
and I was scared to go, and so I missed out on a lot of things
Sure.
because I didn't know anyone, and I had this fear of talking to people in that kind of setting. But if I knew you, and once I got to know you, and we had something in common, it would make it much easier for me to talk to you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, I got to say, I don't like that you had to go through what you went through, but I love the person you are on this side of it, and so I'm actually very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. I
that's
appreciate
Well,
that.
Thank
and I
you.
will say that out of everybody we've met, and especially from the RV Unplugged crew, you guys have been through so much. And I don't want to get into all that because then I'm going to start crying.
Right,
Katrina's
yeah,
going to get
yeah.
dry.
Yeah, I'm gonna get upset.
And that
I'm
makes
gonna have
for,
to walk
That
off.
makes for bad
Exactly.
podcasting.
I already
so-
lost to the
Right.
allergies once today.
Yeah,
I don't need to
she's-
cry anymore.
No.
So I will say though that Tony and Todd and the team at RV Unplugged did an amazing job telling your story. And so if you do want to check out their backstory, that is a great spot to go do it. So we don't have to cry today.
Right, and I think the important thing is to focus on the positive and persevering and overcoming
Absolutely.
and conquering the fears or any other issues you may have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, with that being said, how RV Unplugged? How did you guys get the call to, I don't even know where to start with that.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was interesting. Excuse me. We were in Indiana. I think we were at 1,000 trails, and Chris was doing some editing, and I was sitting there, and I was going through emails, and I come across this email from Stacy Farley. And I told Chris, and he goes, "Oh, that is spam. Just click through that. That's not real. There's no way." And I'm like, I'm clicking on it. So I click on it, and I'm like, oh. And she talked about they were going to do this show and wouldn't give any real details, but we could set up a Zoom call and all this good stuff. And so we did, and that's how it started.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you didn't know Phil and Stacy prior?
Had never
we were
even
big
met
fans.
them.
Sure.
We were watching them for years, and
Oh, I want to tell them one thing about that,
Sure.
if I can
Oh,
interrupt.
do
you.
it.
No,
do
go ahead.
it.
We were here at the show. What was it? 3 years ago? 4
Yeah.
years ago?
And this gets back to how
And
I used to be.
This is how he used to be. So they were doing a meetup in one of the booths inside the building here, and we were in line to meet them. I'm kidding you. We were there for like a good half an hour waiting. We were maybe 3 people behind. He says, "I can't do it. We got to go." We literally had to get out of line because he was too nervous to meet them.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't do it. I could. That's
Wow.
That's how I just couldn't do it. And it's like, it's Phil and Stacy, and I watched them all the time.
And for context, Chris is literally walking down saying hello to every person in the aisle now, by the way. So high five and
I love
hugs
it now.
all around.
It's great. It's a
That's
beautiful
true.
thing.
It
it's
is.
great.
It
But
is.
when we got the email at the time, I think we may have had 3,000 subs, and you get inundated with a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And most of it's junk. So I just like,
Yes.
Katrina, that's not legitimate. That's Stacy. Why is she doing it? So until I saw her on the Zoom meeting, I'm like, something's going on here. So it took me seeing her on that screen to believe it.
That's crazy, though.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you got more notice than I did.
And she went through her whole pitch, her spiel, and everything. And she
I love
said,
that you said pitch because you're like, it's Stacy. Wait a minute. What are you asking me to do?
yeah.
Yes.
And she goes, okay, do you guys have any questions? And the first question I said was, why did you pick us? Because we're just a small channel. And I, to this day, I never got a definitive answer.
No,
it was
it's-
always like, well, we just did this and that. No, so
No, she never told us.
So
No.
in podcast land, this says timing's not going to make sense. But as far as if you're here at the show, they're going to be on tomorrow at noon. I vote you come back and we'll sit her down and say no answer or else.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
Yeah.
but I will also say, knowing Stacy, she does not surround herself
No.
with people she doesn't care for greatly.
Okay.
And so she is very intentional in who she lets into that circle. So to have that call with a small channel was quite a compliment
Yeah.
in my
Yep.
world.
Well, and
That's sweet.
I'd say too that she did a phenomenal job at casting because I don't know. I think the season 2 contestants have a big old bar that they're going to have
Yeah.
to get to because
That's
we
right.
we honestly
Yes.
think everybody that we left we became very good friends
Yeah.
with, and we try our best to stay in contact. But unfortunately, as life happens, we scatter because this is what we do.
Yeah.
But when we get back together, it's almost like we don't miss
Yeah.
a beat, and
Yeah.
it's next thing you know, the scotch is disappearing
Yeah.
and Mike's doing weird things.
Yeah.
We'll throw Mike under the bus. He's not here to defend himself. So, you guys are on the show. Obviously, we were on separate sides for that, so we didn't get to know each other very well while we were filming. It took us, unfortunately, both being eliminated to get to know you, or me at least, get to know you guys better. What was some of your favorite moments of being on the show,
well, for me, the biggest
other than meeting me?
yeah, that was a great moment.
that was number one.
fantastic.
Come on.
For me, it would have been the Katrina with the fire. When she did, that was my favorite moment because
Yeah.
my reaction was just like raw emotion. The way I used to react when I was a big sports fan, and it was
Sure.
just, I was just so proud of her, and it was just a just huge weight was lifted off our shoulder because you want to contribute. When you're there and you're surrounded with all these great people, and you're familiar with them because of their channels, and and you don't want to disappoint anyone.
Sure.
You want to be part of the team. And she accomplished something for the team, and it was just the best moment for us, by far.
Oh.
So before you say yours, I don't know that we've ever talked about this, so we might as well just air our dirty laundry.
Sure.
Do you
Air.
know what I did when you won that? Because I was the next person up on the blue team to go.
No, I
And
have no
I
idea what you did.
didn't get to do the challenge prior because I was more than the ropes would allow.
Oh, that's right. You didn't go on. Yes.
And at that point, everyone's like, oh, he's just the goofy guy in the corner. I am incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
And I mean
No.
incredibly.
No.
Like, I was getting a twitch. And when you won that, I'm really actually kind of happy it wasn't caught on camera, but I took 2 steps backwards and slammed my hat on the ground and just started yelling.
Yeah.
I was so mad I didn't get to play.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy they didn't. And then I obviously, give me 10 minutes, I calm back down. And yes, it was
So you guys have
amazing
some
what you did,
similarities
but
here,
I got
personality.
so mad.
Well, I mean, to me, that's,
And not that you won.
No.
I
get
got
it.
mad that I
But-
didn't
but
get to play.
I was, you could see the other team strategizing right before because we were right. Susan and I were right there beside each other.
Right.
So Red was right behind me, and everybody from the red team was going, "Katrina, do this, do this," and I'm like, "I got it, I got." How do you use the fire starter? I'm like, I got it. Just tell me one time I got it.
Right.
And then you were very involved with helping Susan get ready and getting her pumped
Yeah.
up and everything. So I do remember you, being
So-
like into it.
Of everybody on our team, I was the only one that had any experience whatsoever not lighting a fire via propane or gas.
you and me both.
And
That's-
Yeah, so I was trying to train her because the idea was, just like you guys, I'm sure you went back and forth on, do we look for the thing or do we just try to do the whittling deal?
Oh no, we were looking for the thing.
So I've done the whittling thing before, and so it'd been a hot minute, but it kind of muscle memory is what I was hoping for there. So we were going to let Susan do that, and then if it came down to it, I was going to just do that because I'm not a weak person. So my goal was I could just kind of overpower it and get it to go fast. But yeah, because of that, I took a more lead role in that. Plus, I had gotten to that point where I hadn't gotten to compete yet, and we were 2 challenges in practically. And to tell you that my eye was twitching is an understatement. I mean, I was having headaches.
Yeah,
because I wasn't getting.
If
to
you
play.
remember, I don't know if you remember, but I was so hyped up after letting it all out.
You were.
I walked away, and I think some people thought I was mad, but I wasn't mad. I just had to bring it back down. I just had to walk it off, shake it off. But yeah, and
Phil
she's the fire starter for the
Phil
campfires.
asked me Phil came over and he was concerned on his face, and he's like, "Is he okay?"
Right.
I mean, he was, because Chris totally just left the whole.
Right. I had to walk away too, but that's because I was a golf pro for a long time, and so outbursts are not a thing you do, and so it takes a lot for me to actually have one because, like breaking a club, you just don't do that kind of stuff in that sport. And so that's why I kind of removed myself, and then once I knew I was okay, I came back, and yeah, it was amazing what you did.
But you
except for the
got it
whole
with the
losing
swimming man.
thing on
You
my
got it
end.
with
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We did.
We
That
called him a
swimming-
dolphin
Killed
on
it,
one of the
man.
earlier ones.
Oh, I've been called a lot of stuff. If Howard calls me merman one more time, though, I could do without that. So, okay. So, what was your favorite moment on the show? And you can't pick that one.
Oh, geez. I think my favorite moment was just when we got there and we found out who the cast was. I was so excited to see who they were because for the longest time, I know that you guys might have not had the same experience, but we didn't know. And it was months before we found out, and it was just killing me to know who else was on there. We were guessing who it might be.
We spent
And then not
weeks,
telling
if not
anyone.
months, trying to figure out who was going to be
Yeah, I
on
didn't
the
have
show.
that problem.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I was gonna say you had a different experience. So,
Which is crazy
Well,
because obviously we're on the same show, and that just my experience was more get to where by when, how, what, huh?
well, let me ask you, if it's okay,
Yeah.
how did that happen, and what did you think?
Oh,
when
have
that
we not
happened?
told you how that happened?
I don't remember.
I
Recall.
think we know, but maybe not quite.
So the weekend before, you guys were supposed to be around the area, and however they queued it up, I still don't know how you queued up because I wasn't privy. And we had met Todd and Tony and Phil and Stacy at the Southwest RV Super Show. We were a small, and you guys said you were a small channel. We were a really small
Yes,
channel.
yeah.
Because we were sitting probably around 1,500-ish subscribers, and so we were doing what we thought we should do. We were filming RVs, right? And it was in our backyard. So, and we got talking to them a little bit and said, okay, see ya. And we had known Chris and Martha for a little bit. And so with whatever happened with whoever it was supposed to be, somebody unfortunately had to not be there at the moment. And I'm not exactly sure who that was. And I guess they started asking, like, does anybody know anybody? And Chris happened to be there. And he's like, well, Ryan's in Fort Worth is where we were at the moment. And so I get a call from Chris, and which is funny is because we were already thinking about switching our Solitude out to a toy hauler. And we were sitting in a momentum with the sales guy we worked with on our toy hauler. And when you're sitting in there kind of talking money negotiating, you going to answer the phone from your buddy?
No.
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 He called 5 times in a row.
You knew something.
So now I'm thinking something's actually wrong.
Sure.
And so I excuse myself. I get on, and my exact response was, "You better have a limb missing." What? Like, there's a reason why I can call you back. And he's like, "Can you be in Athens tomorrow morning?" I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So no, a hard no. And he goes, "Well, you talked to Tony from the NRVTA." I'm like, okay. And so 5 minutes goes by. Tony calls me and he's like, "Hey, can you be here by noon?" I'm like, "For what? Like, you guys got me in on something."
That's the info we had.
That's it.
That's funny.
Can you be here? That was all it was. The extent of
That's
my
it?
knowledge. That's it.
Wait,
And
so you said yes to
no,
that?
I did not say yes to
okay.
that.
I was just saying.
I said no, hard no, no. There were a lot of words in front of no that I said multiple times. And so we get more information finally after they realize they have to actually include me in what they're talking about.
And by more information, we got the word boondocking.
Yeah, and the show, and I mean, we had more than just boondocking, but you're going to boondock. It's a show. We're hoping it's going to get big, so on and so forth. And I had flexibility in my schedule. She did not. And we're talking literally at this point, it's probably 4:00 in the afternoon. They're asking me to be there at the latest by noon the next day. And so we were talking about it. I finally got them to stop calling me for 5 minutes so we can actually have a conversation. And we're talking about it. And I told her, I said, there's no way. Like, I'm not just going to, we live in ours full time. I can't just take our home away from you for 2-3 weeks, whatever it was, and not do that. And she goes, but it's a good opportunity. So essentially that's when her boot got up and shoved me out the door. And
As she should.
She
There
took
you
it upon
go.
herself
choice.
to find somewhere to crash, and she took the dogs and all of that. And I called Tony, and of course, Tony being Tony, as you know now.
Tony.
And I said, okay, so I need to be there by noon. I'm in. And he goes, cool, can you be here by 8? I was like, no. You're lucky. I'll leave by 8, and I get there when I get there. How about that? And so I rolled up, and in fact, I was still working. So I was on contract, and I was working on a brand new financial proposal for a company. And so, like, when everybody pulled up when we were staging, Mike and Susan were in front of me, and then it was me. And I actually was sitting there, and you guys were all starting to kind of like linger and get to know each other. I'm not sure where you guys were in the line. I was the guy sitting on that little grassy thing right outside of Little Red working on his computer because I was trying to wrap up something for the day so that I could be done. And another thing people don't know is I was working for a few hours when we were done filming because I had to. I wasn't expecting to be gone, so I was up 2 hours later than everybody else.
Wow.
And just because when you get noticed like that, there's some things, as you know, you just can't drop. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
how it ended up for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that story.
Okay.
That was interesting.
So
Scotch
his
gets in the way.
personality, he sees the problems because he intends to solve them, but that he will immediately bring up the problems and say, no, I can't get there because you don't have a place to stay, because I don't know, I haven't prepared, because all these things. And I was like,
We'll figure it
figure it
out.
out.
You
Bye.
go.
we'll figure it out.
I got
on
me.
the fly. Let's
you
go.
do you.
And I will say, I mean, obviously there's apprehension when you do something like that, especially on a moment's notice.
Yes.
But once I got there and started to meet everybody, and I say that, once we got parked in our spots and I got to meet everybody, blue team first and then you guys kind of after the fact, best decision I've made in my RV life so far by a mile.
Yeah.
So
Great decision.
otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here with
that's
you
right.
guys.
No,
Exactly.
we totally agree.
Yeah.
So-
Totally agree.
All right.
So not to completely move on, but we're going to move on a little bit from RV Unplugged, but do you consider yourselves boondockers now officially?
No, not really. I mean, no. I mean, I still want to do more,
Sure.
and I'm more comfortable now if I have to do it.
Okay.
Obviously,
Especially if you got a red solo cup.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I do have a jug. So
Sorry for the inside jokes from the show.
but no, we're not. I wouldn't consider myself boondockers, but I would like, and I'm comfortable doing it probably up to a week. But it's not as intimidating as it
Sure.
first was.
Yeah.
So
We
Just sweat a
will
little
be
bit.
sooner than later.
I'm
What
sorry.
does that mean?
Well,
Would you-
we'll
would you
talk
s-
about that. I
Oh,
guess.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cryptic.
All right. There you go.
Awesome.
All right. There you go.
So we're going to call you boondockers light then. You're able to, but don't necessarily want to all the time.
Yeah. Right.
So with that being said, you guys have a bucket list trip that a lot of RVers consider a bucket list trip that you guys are going to do this year.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it or not so much?
Sure. We'll talk about it. Katrina,
Okay.
you want to talk about it?
So where are we going?
We're going to Alaska.
Ooh.
North to Alaska.
And you're going to boondock the whole thing?
No.
No, we have,
That was really fast.
yeah, we remember he's bougie. He's
Okay.
bougie.
He's
no,
a pedestal princess.
Yes.
Some days he absolutely is.
Yes, I am. This is true.
That is.
This is true. I will not lie.
But friends of ours that we met last year invited us to go on this epic trip. And we had literally met them for like 2 days. And we're like, yeah, I don't know about that. We don't kind of know you that well yet. But we thought about it for a couple months. You're like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. They're planning the whole thing. So we really just have to get our checkbooks out and...
Cheaters. You're
Cheaters.
cheating.
Yeah.
don't bring up cheating. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
We could say
I
that.
wasn't the one pouring the water in the top.
But for me, I was like, well, I think we should do this.
Yeah.
Especially they're doing the heavy lifting, so to speak. She's planning the whole thing.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those bucket list items that would usually take you a year or more to prepare for, and it's been well over 6 to 8 months since we were asked, right?
It took us about 2-3 months to say yes, and then
Yeah.
we were all in.
But so she is planning it. So I haven't really had to give it much thought in terms of the planning. She's
Right.
setting everything up for us, which is great. So to me, it was a no-brainer because I'm like, this is just going to make the trip that much easier for us.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, let's do it, because if we don't do it now, we may not get that chance later on down the road.
Yeah.
So we were on board, and then we asked them if it would be okay if we asked a few friends to go along, because I'm intrigued by the possibility of having a caravan.
Sure.
A bunch of us, because once again, it gets back to, I want more people around as we RV. I love being around people and hanging out
Right.
and sitting around and talking, the whole things that you do. So we reached out to a few friends and said, would you be interested? So there's a total of 4 of us going, four different couples.
4 couples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
So
cool.
have you been to Alaska before in any way?
No, never.
No.
No, never.
Really?
No, never.
So we've cruised it, and we knew we wanted to go back and RV it because of that, but that was it. So we got like a taste of Alaska.
Yeah.
So you would take your large rig up there?
Yeah.
You would. Okay.
Everything. So, and then we've not been quiet about this, so it's been a poor marketing ploy on my department. But everything we've done with that rig
Yes.
is to boondock and go to Alaska.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
We've added independent suspension out of those. So we literally went from factory to MORRIDE to have the IS put on. We're putting a very extensive solar system on, because I will
Nice.
never experience an RV Unplugged like thing again without air conditioners, ever. That tells you how miserable I was. And the truck's been retrofitted for different things. The only thing we'd have to consider when doing that now for us is kind of something to help prevent damage to things at that point. It's like rocks and that kind of stuff. So, but that rig has been designed to do this, essentially. Maybe not by them, by Alliance.
So we're going to
but
let you
by
go
us.
this year and then bring us back all your notes.
Yeah.
And
We'll
then
wait a
go
couple
next
years
year.
and then we'll all go back up. But
Yeah.
That would be, we could do a little reunion.
There you go.
Season 1.
So-
Oh, fine.
Take it to Alaska.
right. Well, last time we tried to get everybody together, it ended up being 3 of us. So
Well,
But-
it just didn't, it's hard to get everybody to go at
it
the
is.
same time.
So that brings up a good point. You guys aren't taking your Class A up?
No, I just wasn't interested. I know it can be done.
Sure.
I've met people who did it. I literally met met a guy last year in Red Bay who I think he had like a 44 foot tag axle diesel pusher. And he goes, I just took this up there, no problem. I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to. I figured, let's get something. Actually, I wanted, Nathan from Less Jump More Journey last year was selling a 2016. It wasn't a Trend. It was a
The
Viva.
View.
Oh, no,
Viva.
that was Viva.
Yeah,
It
the
was a
little,
Viva.
the little thing they took down to Mexico and
Yes.
Baja.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the rig I wanted.
Okay.
Because I figured if Nathan's selling it, he's got a lot of things he's invested into
Yeah,
it.
there's a few things in there already.
And we wanted something small and compact, something that we could was stealthy, that we could easily just pull over on
No
the side of the
slides.
road.
Right.
We didn't have to worry about something, less things breaking. So I just wanted to kind of keep it as simple as possible, not having any experience driving up there.
Right.
So unlike, what you're doing,
So-
I don't know that I could do that.
So what we ended up purchasing was
Yeah.
literally the same rig as that. It's just a year older.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it now you're officially 2 RV owners? Does that mean twice the amount of maintenance, or is one kind of winterized sitting somewhere now? Because you guys brought the Class A here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to sell the Class A. We had no offers, and I told Katrina, I said,
How much you want for it?
Huh?
Just kidding.
I said, what's the point of taking the Class C down to Florida? Let's take the big rig
Yeah,
down.
might as well. You got
Might
it.
be comfortable.
Right.
And so, yes, the Class C is undercover and winterized. Yes.
But we also, during that trip, we want to come, when we come out of Alaska, Canada, we want to go down to like Washington State, Oregon,
Do the
hug
West
the
Coast.
We're not going to go, but we're going to do the northern part of
Okay.
California. So we want to be nimble so we can stay places
I was going to
very
say, because
easily.
with our size and your Class A size, when you start talking about the coast of California,
Yes.
some things open and or close based on the size of you.
Right.
Like the PCA is not a thing you're going to do in something like in
Right.
your Class A or our fifth wheel.
Exactly.
That's
And-
quite the adventure. How long do you have planned for that?
We leave at the end of May. We get into Montana. We should be crossing over end of May. And then we are there until like the second week in September when we come back down to the lower 40.
Yeah, that crossing over into Canada, the plan is to go up to the Banff area. Will depend on the.
Notes, Chris. You have notes.
I got notes.
Did you hear
I
that?
took
That
notes.
little was Katrina snap. Like, come on now, get with it.
Yeah, Banff and Jasper National Park. We'll be up in that area.
Banff is amazing. As a kid, I went up there and
Really?
played golf. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then we'll eventually work our way from over into British Columbia area, up to the Yukon, and then cross over into Alaska. Spend some time in let's see, Denali, Seward.
You need some readers over there?
Fairbanks.
He does, yes.
And then we're going to cross back over and go to. I always have a hard time saying it. Tuyuktuk.
Oh, I have no idea.
I think it's called Tuyuktuk.
Hey, you convinced me, man.
So it's an amazing plan that we plan on staying at parks. We also plan on doing some boondocking along the way. So we're kind of doing a mixture of both.
So that brings up a good point. Have you guys made any modifications to the new rig for Alaska?
No, well, just a few. I did put some Sumo springs on it.
Okay.
We did put some new tires on it, and I will have a new battery put in. But
Okay.
I'm going to wing it and see what happens. And I'm like, I told Katrina, I said, what's the worst thing to happen? Barring a major catastrophe.
You fly home.
Yes. What's the worst thing that could happen? It breaks down and we got to go somewhere. And that's the thing about getting comfortable RVing. You realize that you'll find a way to make it work. You'll
That's true.
fix it. At first you're really like nervous, like, oh man, if something breaks, what's going to happen? What am I going to do?
You're going to fix it,
Yeah.
or you're going to find someone else to fix it.
Well,
And-
you saying that, Ryan, we do have someone with us that can do that.
Cheaters again. Look
Yeah.
at someone planned it, and you're
Yes.
taking a tech with
And
you?
The tech-
an NRVTA certified tech.
Yes.
He went to the school, graduated from the school. So we're with, you figure if there's 8 of us, we should be able to figure out any problem.
You'd think and hope.
I would
Everybody's
think
been
so.
doing it long enough that hopefully there is some version of fixing those
Yeah.
things along the way. But so you didn't add. When you say a battery, what do you mean by that?
I'm just going to put an AGM battery in there. I'm not going to put.
So literally
anything-
just something to get from point A to point
Yeah.
B. Kind of a thing.
Well, the long term plan is once we're done with this trip, we'll probably sell the C.
Okay.
So the C is not a long term plan. The C
Gotcha.
was just totally for this trip.
Okay.
Knowing that once we're done, we'll sell the C and we'll keep the A.
Okay.
Well, we
And-
would still like to sell the A, but we don't have to. I would love to have a toy hauler, but Chris isn't on board with
So
that.
that was the mindset was, I don't want to invest a lot of money into
Sure.
the C, knowing that I'm going to turn around and sell it. So I just said, I think it was the Hanks who went to Alaska and all they had was their one battery in their fifth wheel, I believe.
Oh, because I think they just, not necessarily recently, in video land it would have been recently, came back across the border. And
Yeah.
I think they had I think they've added 2 lithium batteries, so they may have
Since
200 amp hours. Well, I thought they had it before they went.
I thought, you may be right. I thought they went up there with just.
I also know they did add they put a generator on board, a portable generator
Yeah.
on board just to kind of get by.
Yeah.
I don't know what they could or couldn't power with that because I didn't know the size of it. It's just one of those, I know kind of big picture things. I didn't know the specifics.
Yeah, we have an onboard generator
Right.
in the C. So I just figured to,
Use that to charge it
And, and to be honest with you, I'm like, if something happens, it'll just make for good content, right? Right? I mean,
Hey.
it will. So
what is it? People that watch YouTube love 2 things: struggles and the unattainable. So
Yeah.
just
That
you're
is
leaning on the
true.
struggle side on that one, though.
So
but-
how bad can it be? Like I said, as long as no one gets hurt, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
We'll make it work.
So if
We'll
you
make
had
it work.
sold the Class A and you sold the Class C, what would you get?
Fifth wheel.
I would love to get a fifth wheel.
So why, just on this, I don't have any of this in my notes. We're shocker. We're off the rails.
That's cool.
So why a fifth wheel? Just out of curiosity, or a toy hauler, or whatever you were saying.
I would like a toy hauler. I would like to have some kind of golf cart or something kind of.
Oh, there it is.
There is a special. It's my golf cart.
I'm going to point
But
out
there's-
you just called him bougie.
Yeah.
Golf.
that?
Are golf
See?
carts bougie? Is that bougie?
I mean,
no,
yeah.
they are not.
I don't
It's
think so.
perfectly reasonable.
mean,
didn't
I
say
want
like,
one, so I don't
didn't say
care,
like
but-
Harley or something.
Right.
I didn't say anything.
I want him to get one of the crickets, the little ones. And we
That's
could get
just-
2 and race
no,
them.
no.
Oh, that would be fun.
It'd be
Okay.
a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yes.
Chris, do I need to mute them and we can just keep going with this?
No cricket. No.
And I want a large kitchen. I would love to have an island. When you're there and you're parked for any amount of time, let's say we go somewhere and we're sitting for a month. The Class A is large, but it's not like having the room of like a little home.
It's a different kind of large.
Yeah.
I think is the
Yes.
best way to say that because Class A's to me always feel more open because of the opposing slides. It's just kind of one big room and you just have
Absolutely.
shotgun style everything, where you physically have more floor space because you have that part that goes up over the cab. And so we have more floor space, but not necessarily. That might not feel a whole lot bigger. Like I don't know if you've been in our new rig yet.
No, not yet.
Have you been in the version of our rig over here?
No, we haven't had a chance to check out the.
Well, when we're done, let's go over there.
Sure.
We haven't been invited.
Yes.
Well, you were, but I accidentally doused everybody with water, and Mike was the
That
only
is
one that came
true.
inside.
That's true. Yes.
That is true.
Okay, so no modifications to the Class B, but Chris, what's your hold up on the fifth wheel thing? Because you seem hesitant over there.
Look, I love fifth wheels. I love it. We were in one the other night. We went in we were hanging out with some friends, and one of the things you notice as soon as you go into a fifth wheel, it feels more like a home. It's got that feel and vibe, and I love it. I have no experience driving a fifth wheel or towing anything, and I was very hesitant to just buy a fifth wheel and a truck, hook it up, and get on the road. Now, I've met people who have done that, and I give them all the credit, but I'm like, it just was a little. I was worrisome for me. I just was like, I didn't want to get stressed out by that.
It was outside your comfort zone.
Yes, exactly. So it's not, we love fifth wheels and we look at them all the time, but I don't know that we'll ever get a fifth wheel just for that reason.
I can tell you right now, we have some content. We have some content for you here. Whenever you guys get back from Alaska, let's do a key swap. Bring the Class A if you haven't sold it. We'll do a key swap. We'll ride. I'll let you drive the truck in our trailer. In a controlled environment with me present, and I will teach you.
Thank you.
And then we'll flip, and we'll do the same thing.
Let's do that. That'll be fun.
And I'm also going to give you more credit, right? You've been driving your Class A with a Toad. You have experience driving a big vehicle. Don't short yourself.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's why I picked a Class A, because for 30-some years at work, I drove trucks. And I had those, I didn't drive semis, but I drove rigs over 26,000 pounds, and I'm familiar with that Freightliner, cab. So it was very easy for me to just transition over to a Class A.
And that's like us. We had the ranch, and so we were used to towing like huge things with hay bales on them, but it was always something in the bed of the truck. And so it's the exact same, just in different worlds.
Yeah. And a lot of people are intimidated by driving a Class A. And to me, it's so easy. So
and that's ironic, because I say the exact same thing. I'm not necessarily intimidated to drive the Class A. I just know I need to learn some things before I do it.
There you go. That's a better way of saying absolutely.
And so I'll tell you right now, the biggest difference is your pivot points are different. Yeah. That's all it is at that point. And you're a little lower when you're in the cab. But.
And every time I'm at a campground and I see a fifth wheel come in to a tight spot, I'm like, that would stress me out. I give these guys credit. They do a great job. And then there are those who don't do a great job. But
those are at least entertaining.
I don't have that kind of issue with the Class A. Almost, we just went to Fort DeSoto, and it was a tight getting in there.
Yeah.
But I easily got that rig in that tight spot. So.
And I rarely ever have to back you up. Usually you back up yourself.
Yeah.
The same thing. That's exactly what I do with him. Most of the time, I'm just like, tell me if you need me. Otherwise, I'm going to move things so that you don't hit them, and I'm gone.
In tight campgrounds, she serves as a pivot point or a spotter. That's pretty much it. And that's only because, obviously, like I have a blind side. I don't know. You don't really have a blind side because you're attached.
Yeah, not really.
You do, but it's normal blind side.
And I usually, that's what I need her for, is making sure I don't hit something at the top corners, something like that. Other than that, between the backup camera and the side mirror, I'm pretty comfortable.
So that's the biggest difference, is we have a blind side no matter which way you're going, unless you're backing straight in, obviously, because when we pivot out, like say we're backing in, to our door side, well, I can't see the entire side of my coach on the service side. Now, some people get cameras. They actually mess me up more than they help me, so I stopped. We just ditched them when we switched coaches. And so that's what she'll do, slash film, because, that's a thing with us. What's the most times you've had to pull in or pull out of a place because you wanted to get specific shots?
A few. We've done it too. Yeah, we've done a few. Yeah, and then there are times when we forgot to get a shot. So
many times.
Yeah.
We won't be actively shooting a video, and we'll be pulling out of like a Cracker Barrel or something. And I'm like, hey, will you go out there and get a shot? And she's like, for what? I'm like, I don't know. You never know.
Or something. Yeah,
something. I'll use it at some point. It's something different, right? Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I have one little section. This is a listener Q&A, and you guys have one.
Okay, cool.
And it has nothing to do with anything we've talked about.
Okay, that's great.
Because I think you put some stuff out on social media. I know about this already, but Steven from Iowa asked, how is Tucker doing?
Tucker is we think he's doing better. First of all, Steve, thanks for asking. I really do appreciate that. Tucker, for the other day, he started having some discharge from his eye, so we took him to the vet. He has what's called an ulcer, which is basically a scratch, and I'll take him back tomorrow to find out whether the medication has helped. And they think it could be superficial, and we don't know if it's superficial or deeper. So
Okay.
we'll find out tomorrow. But he seems to be doing better, right, Katrina?
He seems to be doing a lot better. There's
Yeah.
less seepage, and he's opening it, wider, and
Oh, good.
seems happier.
Good.
So
But to say that might be the happiest dog I've ever met.
Yeah, he's a good ball.
He's a good one.
my
He's a
buddy.
good boy.
He's my buddy.
Yeah, I am like him more than you. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's understandable.
just
That's
kidding.
cool.
That's
That's fine.
okay.
That's fine.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We'd like to say a big thank you to Alliance RV once again for having us out at the 2024 Florida RV Super Show. Where can everybody find our Everyday Getaway?
They can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Just the handle at our...
Just go to we also have a website, oureverydaygetaway.com. But yes, go to our Everyday on YouTube, our Everyday Getaway, and the same with Facebook and Instagram.
And I will say they have some of the coolest merch I've seen. We, the RVers. I know that I've already looked at Lauren and said, we need to order those.
That's nice.
you guys are cute.
So we do like
Thank
that
you.
stuff. It looks
Appreciate
great.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Continued success, safe travels, and everybody out there, we will chat with you next week.